Never let anyone who cannot bear your pain make you feel that you're unbearable. Because not everyone is capable of walking with you. But that does not mean you are not worthy of belonging. I promise you, there will be other people. There will be other people that will take the time for you. And not because they pity you, but because they believe in the kind of love that is true, the kind of love that is not envious, the kind of love that is not proud. I know you have been let down, but please don't give up on true love now. It is kind and it is real. No matter how you have been made to feel, don't give up on love because love has not given up on you. Welcome to the chat with Selassie. I am Selassie. Joining me today is Kris. We will be chatting about divorce, marriage, love, and everything in between. So I'm very grateful that you stopped by to watch us today. I hope that you send this to your friend or even call your friend to watch with you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, we would love for you to join our community only if the content resonates with you. So don't forget to click the subscribe button and join this community. Welcome, Kris. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. I already told you this off camera, but I'll say it again. I love your smile.
Thank
I
you.
love your dimple.
I love yours.
I love the beard. Thank you. Thank you. But I'm happy to finally meet you in person.
Yes.
And also you just giving me your time. You know, my mom told me a story before that, not a story, but she told me something before. She said, there is no greater gift than time. Someone genuinely giving you their time. You know, it is priceless. So this is a priceless gift you're giving me right now. And I really
appreciate you having me.
Yes, of course. So we will just go straight into it. When you were young, were you the kind of man who, you know, always saw yourself to be someone who wanted to get married?
That's a good question. I think I don't know about when I was really young, but I think at a certain point, growing up, teenage years into adulthood, I started to want to have that for myself. Like I always really wanted a family, kids, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, for women, we like fantasize about that a lot. And women, we are always like 10 steps ahead of the man. And you have sisters.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm sure
yes.
maybe you know this already. But we are always like, you know, ahead. So women, yes, or most women, you know, we do fantasize about getting married and having like the perfect family.
Right.
Even though, you know, perfection does not exist. But yeah, I have envisioned myself that way. So I am very open and happy to be educated by you. I know what breakup is like. I know what being in a relationship is like, but I've never been married. So yeah, you're gonna tell us. At what age did you get married and how was marriage life like?
So I got married when I was 26. Prior to that, we had been together for 6 years. So I was very young.
So meaning you were together when you were 20?
Yeah.
That was okay.
And then we got married when I was 26.
26, okay.
Yeah. And we were married for 7 years until we got divorced. Our marriage was not your typical marriage.
Okay.
How
old was the lady, by the way?
25.
The lady was 20?
Well, when I met her, I was 20. She was 25.
Okay, so she's 5 years older than you.
Yes, so when we got married, she was 31.
Okay.
We both worked in the music industry. That's how we met. So a huge portion of our day-to-day life and our marriage was centered around music.
Hmm.
Um, so we both wrote music together. We both developed artists, a girl group together. We traveled together. We did everything together. Um, and sometimes it was really great. Um, I feel like at some point the focus on music so much
Mm-hmm.
for both of us took away from the intimacy of what we should have been focusing on as far as each other. It was always work, 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 work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think after a while that took its toll. And I know for me personally, um, doing everything together, and I can't place the blame on her. You know, I take ownership of it
Yes.
too. But even not like going out with friends regularly or seeing family regularly, that began to take its toll, and we were like in our own little bubble.
So, are you trying to say that you guys were not like you were not going out with friends regularly, or you were going out with friends too
No,
much?
no, we weren't really doing a whole lot of that. I mean, we would go out on
On
random
dates?
dates, like let's go out to eat. That was our
Yeah.
thing, eating. You know.
But it was just the two of you in your bubble and
Yeah,
music.
in our right in our music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another huge factor that played into our marriage was a year after we met, I got sick. Um, I got diagnosed with a mental illness that was at the time out of the blue and just totally turned my world upside down to the point where me being a creative and always being a creative, I couldn't really like create like I wanted to before. I was just like, you know, just they when that type of thing happens, um, they don't really know what's wrong at the time, so they're throwing all types of drugs at you. You're having reactions to those drugs. And so I went from a very young, confident, ambitious young man to someone who was now not working, on disability, not being able to create like I used to, and at a certain point being kind of taken care of by my wife.
Yeah.
Um, so, like I said, our marriage wasn't the typical marriage just because of life and how it was thrown at us
Yeah.
early on in our relationship.
And you said when you met, it before you got married? Was that when you were diagnosed, or were you diagnosed when you got married?
No, it was before we got married.
Okay.
Yeah, so it went a couple of years of not really like working to trying to get back into the workforce, um, but having major issues with anxiety to the point where it was affecting my ability to keep employment. I would have these crazy panic attacks to where I couldn't think straight or anything, and it would make it very difficult to keep going that way.
Yeah.
But you know, as a man, you have this innate thing inside you that wants to get up and go out and provide and take care of things and do all those things. So I was struggling with that personally. There were issues financially just working in music. You know, you're at the top of the hill one year or one moment,
Yeah.
and then a year later you know, a song is not out now, and with us being young, not doing the proper planning with our money, um, not being educated, um, not taking care of the elephant in the room when you get those big checks, taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so all those things were going on in our marriage. So, um, you know, it was hard to do the regular vacation every year. Just things that
And that was something you guys used to do before, the regular vacation?
No. Our vacation was traveling and doing music. Going to LA, going to Miami.
Yeah.
We went to Norway one time and did some work. That was our vacation. And, you know, later.
So always working.
Yeah, always working. And then later on, you know, we went on a few vacations.
I don't know, you know, when you actually, you know, were dating or you got married.
Mm-hmm.
But now, personally, I'm a big reader. And I know people love to listen to like podcasts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love love. So I love to like research and read a lot of things on love and marriage and all of those things that involves love.
Right.
There's this book that I really like. I think it's titled The Eight Dates. I think that's what it's titled. Did you have resources, you know, before, like during your time when you were ready to marry, or maybe when you were dating? Did you guys talk about finances and, you know, sex, or you know, when we get children? Like, did you talk about things like that during the dating stage, or during when you were just boyfriend and girlfriend? Did you guys talk about things like that?
Always wanted children. But as far as like talking about like finances and stuff like that, no. No. And, you know, I just chalk it up to us being super young and not really nobody teaching us like, yeah, y'all need to sit down and talk about these things, you know. I grew up in the church, so we were both in the church.
She grew up in the church too?
Yeah. And, you know, in the church, they just want you to get married. It's like, yo, y'all.
It's like, you better get married.
Yeah.
Funny kid, you know?
Right. Y'all better get married now. All right, now y'all been together how long? And it's like, so I've definitely felt that too. Yeah. I see it more now on like YouTube, watching different churches and stuff, talking about relationships more. But I didn't have that in church growing up. Like, we didn't really talk about. We talked about don't have sex before marriage.
Yeah.
You know, you're supposed to get married between a man and a woman, and the basics. But that is not what's going to keep you married. So yeah, I didn't have that education. I wish I did.
So you wish that the church would have maybe spoken more about, you know, maybe what was going to keep you married, what was going to keep you going as a couple, as husband and wife.
Absolutely.
So did you guys ever invest in like a counseling section?
We had
before you got married.
Yeah, we had some premarital counseling. Not enough.
Was it from the church or was it
from the church?
Okay.
Yeah, it's through the church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing, you did have your happy times, but your happy times seems to be intertwined with your work, both of you, your work, and both of you were both working in the same industry.
Right.
So your pleasure, which is, you know, your happy times of your marriage and your work, everything was mixed together.
Right.
So there was no boundary of this time is for work and this time is for just us. You know, as a couple, just enjoying each other. Yeah.
The normal couple, they go off to work, they work all day. By the time they get back, they miss each other. Yeah. Hopefully. You know, we didn't have that. And especially earlier on, with me not working regularly, us just being in the house all the time, recording all the time. Like, all right, let's go out and get something to eat. But yeah, I mean, we used to write and record hundreds of songs a year. Like, I think one year we counted like it was like 250 songs, something like that. So it was just go, 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 go.
So before you got married to the lady, or before you popped the question, right? What made you know that this is my woman, this is my person?
Sometimes you can get so used to somebody, um, and get used to what society says and how there's a natural progression, and I feel like that's kind of where I was at. I'm like, I was getting closer to God, so I was getting closer in my relationship, as far as going to church and reading the word and stuff like that. So I feel like that part was kind of tugging on me, like, yo, you need to do this. You know, you need to do what's right by this woman. You know, y'all been together this many years and so on and so forth. But I have to say this too. I didn't really get to date.
Okay, hold on. We are gonna go a little deeper into that.
Yeah.
But what you said before, that sometimes society just is like, okay, it's like this is the trend, or this is like from point A to point B, right? So it's kind of like, well, you've been with this lady for 6 years, right?
Right.
In your case, 6 years. So the next thing for you, because you have been with the lady and the church, you know, you're also feeling some pressure, like some religious pressure.
Internal and external.
External,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
So feeling like I have been with this person for 6 years, therefore it is only fair, or the next step is to get married. Is that what it was? Not
It
because
was, it was more than that. We were in love, and I did, have those feelings towards her. But yes, that was a big part of it. Like, yeah, I need to do this.
So you did feel a little bit of pressure that yes, you were in love.
Yes.
But as to whether, if the pressure wasn't there, if there was no internal pressure or external, pressure, do you think that maybe you would have waited, or would it have been different in any way?
Yeah, I think it could have been different. It became a point where I felt like we were like codependent on each other. And it was less about choosing each other. I know for me personally, like, and I'm jumping all over the place, but fast forwarding to before we got divorced, I felt like, I'm not happy anymore. But we're married. We have this life together. We have this work life together. Not only do we have this work life together, we have people depending on us, because I told you we were developing acts around the city and stuff like that. So all of these people are looking to us to help them. If there's no more, then it doesn't just affect us, it affects our whole life. So that I struggled with that for a long time. Longer than I like to admit.
Yeah. And then you did say that you didn't get the chance to date. You guys didn't really date. What does that mean?
I'm saying, I personally, when I say I didn't get a chance to date, like, I met her when I was 20.
Okay.
So my entire 20s, where most people are.
Oh,
you get
you
what
were
I'm
just
saying?
with her.
Yes.
Got you.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like you don't know these.
So you didn't get the chance to date around.
Yeah.
To date other women.
To date other women.
But you dated that particular your ex-wife.
Right.
Okay. So she was the only woman you knew, and then you got married to, and.
Yeah, I mean, I had my fun, before her, but most people in their 20s, they're going to college, they're figuring themselves out.
Yeah.
They're dating different people, seeing what they like, seeing what they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what I liked or didn't like because it was just me and her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, don't get me wrong, she's great. She's an awesome person.
Yeah.
But I feel like there were certain red flags probably she saw in me too.
Yeah.
That if I was dating now and saw certain things, I would pay more attention to that and be like, maybe I should. I don't know if I can put up with that. Mm-hmm. Certain things, but being that young, I didn't know what to look out for, what to look for, because yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. When we talk about pressure, or external and internal pressure, sometimes I think that we take it lightly. Where as a woman, for me in my 30s, not that I'm 30 yet, I feel like sometimes I'll hear my father's friends. There's this particular friend of my father. Whenever he sees me, he's like, "Oh, when are you bringing a man home? When are you bringing the man? When are you introducing the man to us?" And then I'll hear my father say, "Leave her alone. Leave my daughter alone." That was before I turned 30. But now that I'm turned 30, I hear my father now asking me, "When are you getting married? If you think you can find a man, I can help you find a man. I can introduce you to someone." I'm like, "No, I don't want you to introduce me to anyone." Like you said, society is like, there's this thing. I don't know what word to use, but there's this thing. It's like, okay, at this age, you're supposed to do this. At this time, you're supposed to do that. It's like there is this invisible
it's a track that
exactly.
is set up for you.
Yes.
You go to elementary school, you go to middle school, you go to high school.
You go to college, you get a job, and then you meet someone, you get married.
You get married.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, because that is how it's been done for a very long time, even though you are trying to be different, or you are trying to not be different in the sense that you don't want that,
right? But
you don't want who you are to be about that.
Right.
You want to be more than that. I mean, I'm a woman. I'm more than a wife. I'm more than just someone who wants to get married. There's more to me than just getting married. And
Absolutely.
so, there is more to you as well than just getting married. But sometimes, even if you hear people say it, and even if sometimes when I sit by myself, you think about it. You're like, "Oh, I'm 30 and I'm not even dating yet, and what am I going to date, and when am I going to get married?" And when I get those thoughts personally, I pull myself back. I had to like talk to myself and let myself know that, look, it's gonna come when it comes. You are not following any clock. Yes, the biological clock is there, but like, I'm not gonna add more pressure. Society's pressure, right? Pressuring me enough. I'm getting like some pressure from family and things like that. And so the pressure you're talking about, that is a real thing. That sometimes, don't you think that sometimes we need to do better for ourselves by telling those people that, when you see me, don't talk about that with me? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, do I think people will still probably do it at some point? Yeah.
They will.
But, yeah, especially my church was a very small church. Everybody knew each other. Everybody knew everybody's business. So yeah, you're getting that all the time in different ways and different little suggestions and you just feel it. You just like, okay, we've been together this long now, like I need to either get married or I don't want to break up, but yeah, so I
So
definitely,
the only way for you was get married or get married.
yeah,
That was the
that's
only
kind of how
option.
I felt, yeah.
Okay.
And then my mom and my stepdad had been married for like at that time probably like 15 years. Um, it's crazy because they ended up getting a divorce later on. Um, not too not um, as far as time wise, wasn't too long or before. I can't remember exactly around the time that I did. Um, but just you have this idea of what marriage is and what marriage is supposed to be, um, and then you find out through other people's marriages and they're getting divorces. And you're like, man, I never think they would get a divorce or they had any issues. And then you get to know some of the details of surrounding these things, and you're like, never them. And it's like now now the fantasy is not to say that's how marriage is all the time, but I'm just saying, knowing real life situations, being in the situation myself, you now see like, okay, it's not this picket fence and you know, honey, I'm home and I'm so happy to see you and no, like it's real situations. It's ups, it's downs, it's and I have to give it to my ex-wife. She fought more than I did. I can say that.
Kris, I'm
Flat out.
very happy because you keep. I've heard people just say very horrible things about their partners. Not to say that it's not true, but just putting blames on the other person. But here you are sitting and you're taking accountability for the parts that you did play.
Absolutely.
And praising her for where, praise is due. And I'm really proud of you for doing that.
Absolutely. I feel like I had you know how people have the fight or flight? I feel like I had a flight thing when it came to, like, not saying I would actually do it all the time, but the thought would come like, I don't know about this, this is happening now, I don't, woo! Like, where I don't even think that crossed her mind in a lot of different situations. I'm just being honest, you know what I'm saying? So, but for a successful marriage, you have to have that fight in you, because you will be tested in more ways than one. And if y'all are not really for each other like that, it's not. It's the cracks will show.
Can you share with me some of the good memories or some of the fun times you had from your marriage? And even before you do that, from what you've been saying, I think that even in marriage, couples should still have individual times, right?
Yeah.
Before you got married, you had your alone time where you were doing your own stuff.
Yeah.
But in your situation, everything was together.
Yeah.
Work was together.
Yeah.
Personal
Towards
time.
the end, I started to see the importance of that and make time for other things. But yeah, it was later down the line. Yeah.
Share with me some of the fun, memorable things you remember from your marriage before we delve into the divorce.
Yeah. Man, I just remember meeting her and being like, gosh, like this person is so like fun to be around. Like I can, be silly. She likes my jokes. She likes like she I mean, she's like my biggest cheerleader as far as like this music thing goes. Cause at that time I was a rapper, I was an artist,
Mm.
and she was a songwriter, and she's older than me, so naturally she kind of knows more people in the city than I do at that point. So she's trying to like, she's going to meetings and stuff, and yeah, I got this guy. And she didn't have to do that. Looking back on that, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. She was just funny, um, uber creative, like way more creative than me. And I was creative, but like where her mind would go with different things, was just absolutely amazing. Amazing cook, um, amazing at just using her creativity to cultivate a home, to put things together. Um, I remember like we when we decided to get married, we got it. We didn't wait like super long, and she like, and it's not like we had a whole bunch of money to do it, and she masterminded and thought of different cool little ways to do different things and da da da. And of course, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Like, yeah, let's do this. But I gotta give her credit. She's just a very nurturing, silly, creative, sensitive, um, human being, and I owe a lot to her. Um, Even as far as music and things of that nature, like just what I learned coming from being a rapper and then saying, yeah, I always thought about writing different genres of music, but how do you do that? And her, like, us being there together and, you know, teaching me song structures and different things. This in a pop song or R&B song, they have the pre-hook, the the verse, the pre-hook, the hook, the bridge, the post hook, like all these different things, and me really being able to like hone in on all that stuff with somebody who I know who really cares about me and is taking the time to do those things with me. Um, just going out, eating some really good food together, spending a lot of money together at certain points on clothing and other items, going to the beach. Um, yeah, so we had some good times
So
there too.
outside all of this, good times and everything that you guys have done, enjoying your work because you sound like you guys really enjoyed, working
Yeah,
in the music industry. Sounded like it was more like more of a passion than even a job.
yeah,
Correct?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And when did things start going south? When did divorce even start coming in? And I think that before people get divorced, before people actually separate, the separation has already occurred, happened, internally before it, actually happened. So was it you? Were you the one that noticed it first or felt it first? That, okay, this is not working, or who felt it first, and at or what point did it also start
Um,
going south?
I think I did. Uh, like I said, I had that whole flight thing going on. So I would think about the D word more than I would like to admit. Um,
You think about the word divorce
yeah,
more than you like to admit.
yeah, more than I'd like to admit. Um, and I was kind of like hanging in there at a certain point.
What are some of the things that made you think about divorce?
At some point, there was a situation that made me look at her differently. Like I said, she was older than me, had been doing music professionally before me.
Yeah.
About a year after we met, she writes this song that goes platinum and is out of here. So she had success in that sense before me. So when I started to come into my own as a writer, and get placements and Grammy nods and sign my deal that I had, I remember at one point she expressed like some envy towards that, and I never really forgot that, and she apologized for it and stuff, but it just made me feel like we're supposed to be partners. We're supposed to be in this together. And furthermore, you've already had all of this stuff. So why, now that I'm getting it, is it an issue? I don't know. Like, I couldn't get past that, really, after that. That hurt. I'm not going to lie, that hurt, because I'm like, here I am, a lot of times being overlooked, looked at as this person and this person. Just by natural, you knew her before me, she's older, she's been doing this longer. No matter what I contributed to it, I'm not always getting the credit for my contributions.
Did you feel like you were walking in her shadows?
At a certain point, yes. It became that. And that, of course, for me, brought up some resentment. So I can say that. But knowing that she felt that way towards me about my success, I was like, that doesn't sit well with me at all. So that was a huge turning point for me, and just some other things as far as like how finances were being handled with certain big opportunities coming through and being mismanaged, and this money was just here and now it's gone, and you can't explain to me what happened with it. That just didn't make sense in my head, especially when a good portion of those years, like I said, I was on disability. So at some point I started working again along with that, but my whole disability check would go to like our rent. So it's not like I'm balling, but you get a check for however much from music, and we still in the same boat. Like that, and like I said, to our detriment, early on, we did not sit and talk about finances and things of that nature. So I can say all day, I'm like, yo, this is what I feel we should do with this. This tax bill or whatever, like, we need to take care of it. But I can't make you do anything.
Yeah.
So that was another issue.
So Just to throw a little bit of, just to throw some light in there. I know that one of your songs was nominated for the Grammys, right?
Yeah. So
Wait, was it the Emmys?
no. So there were two songs that I wrote that were on Grammy nominated albums for the R&B category in 2013.
Okay. Are these songs that you both worked on, or
Yeah,
so these are songs you both worked
we
on?
both worked on. Yes.
So was there enviness towards this
No.
nomination, or was towards something that you worked on alone?
No, it didn't even. It wasn't even that. It was when I signed my deal, my publishing deal. She had already signed her deal years before that, and she didn't like how things turned out with her deal. She got a nice advance because those were the good old days. But as far as them really handling and doing stuff after a certain point for her, that started to go away. And then she felt like she was on her own and really hustling to try to make things happen. So, and then I got my deal. There was some envy there. And I didn't understand why. It wasn't like my advance was as large, because this is years later, so now streaming is coming in. So music is not paying what it did early 2000s, mid 2000s, when CDs were still being sold and people were going quadruple platinum and all these different things. So I get my deal, and I was like, yeah, I felt some type of way about that.
So would you say that was the foundation of the divorce for you, in your mind, when you started thinking about divorce, and all other things built on that?
Yeah. It was other things, like I said, the finances. Another thing I would say is thinking about having kids. And
you wanted to have kids?
I wanted to have kids.
Did she want to have kids?
She did, but it never happened.
It never happened, as in you guys just didn't have kids.
Right.
Okay.
It never happened. So now I'm starting to think like, okay, is this a possibility now? I want to have kids. So different things I'm starting to think about. But I would say that was like the catalyst, that situation when I got my deal.
Oh. So fast forwarding to the divorce, when you started thinking about this, right? How long did it take you from the thought of it to the manifestation of it?
About 2 to 3 years.
Do you think she was also thinking about divorce? Do you think you both were on the same page?
If she was, I feel like I was more there than she was at the time.
She still wanted to fight for the relationship.
You're right, because she was more of a fighter, in that sense. And there were other factors that I think ultimately led to our divorce too. I don't really want to go all the way into that.
That's absolutely okay. We talk about only things you're comfortable sharing.
But I ended up, from the stress of everything, getting sick again, and that was another stressor on us both, and I'm going back and forth, and it was just a whole lot. And me personally, I was just looking at my life like, what is going on here? Like,
in the marriage.
Yeah, in the marriage, in general, like, you have this idea. We're dreamers. So we have this idea of how things should be. And when you're going after the dream and you're getting wins, And then the check comes and you're like, no, no way. Like, this is what I waited for. Or you have a situation that is supposed to change both of y'all lives, and then it falls through. And all those different things just wear on you and wear on your relationship. And I honestly, after that, was like, I don't know if I want to date anybody in the industry anymore. Because I know how it is. Like, so having two people go through that together, that is just a whole lot. Mentally, emotionally, financially, it started to manifest physically in both of us because of stress and everything. Like, it was a miracle that we were able to keep it together as long as we did with everything
That
going
was
on. Yeah.
So sometimes I wonder why, even in relationships, and I see it in marriages as well, we know when something is broken, we know when this is no longer working, but why do we stay in it for however many years more before we actually leave? In your case, why you've been thinking about it? Why did the divorce actually happen? Now, I'm not saying that, the moment you think about divorce, go ahead and divorce. I'm not saying don't fight for the marriage or don't fight for the relationship. That's not what I'm saying. But you know that this is the end.
Right.
Like, you feel it in your guts that nothing can save this. Like, this is it. But why do we stay there?
Couple reasons. Being a spiritual person, what the Bible says about divorce, you don't want to go that route. But aside from that, for me, it was more about everything that we had tied up together, business-wise and everything, all together. And people depending on us and all those different factors. If it was just like she wasn't in the industry, I was, and we didn't have all that going on, and I knew it was the end, and I'm like, yeah, this is not going on. It would have been easier to walk away. Just like some people, it's hard for them. In our case, it was that, but if they have kids together, so you might notice then, but oh man, if I leave, like, how are they going to be affected by this?
So your case, the things that you had together, for example, your career was tied together. So like that
glued together.
So that was the kid holding you.
That was
in the marriage.
And it wasn't more so like my me as a songwriter. I felt like I could go off and do that on my own, but it was more so like I said, we had developed other artists under us, and they were looking towards us, and I was like,
and they know you guys as a team,
right?
So when you separate, who are they go?
And you saw after that.
So basically, you were in the marriage, not for you or not for the marriage's sake. You were in the marriage because of all these external factors that were tied to your marriage.
After a while.
Yes, after a while.
Yeah,
after the.
Not at first, of course.
Yes.
But after a while, it felt that way. Like, those were the kids, and I was like, man, I can't leave the kids. Like, there are kids, Like, that was tough. And of course, the other part of that is, like, when you get married, her family becomes your family.
Yes.
So all of that is tied together. So her nephews, who I had become very close with, like, you gotta think about that.
Yeah.
And all of that. Like, I was just like, I understand why people like tough it out. My biggest regret, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but my biggest regret is not fighting harder. Instead of looking at the exit sign saying, all right, look, this is what I got going on. This is how I'm feeling. How are you feeling? Da, da, da. Let's try to get some help. Um, I feel like if I would have put more effort into that, then the aftermath of it, I would have felt better about it.